Good morning, students. In today's lectures, we are going to talk about how to improve communication skills and tips to overcome barriers of communication. There are several barriers of communication that affects effective communication, and we need to know on that. What is communication and barriers? Communication is the activity of conveying meaningful information. It requires a sender, a message, and an intent recipient. And what is barrier? Barrier and obstacle in a place that prevents us from completing certain tasks. Communication barriers can be defined as the aspects or conditions that interfere with effective exchange of ideas or thought. Overall, if you think about communication, you need to know communication plays very important role in everybody's career, including engineer, including faculty or anyone else. If you really want to build your communication, you need to know what are the barriers that affect your communications. Now we'll discuss what are the types of barrier: physical barrier, cultural barrier, language barrier, emotional barrier, gender barrier, organizational barrier, perceptual barrier, etc. These are the types of different barriers. We should know this kind of barriers affect your communication. If you connect with any one of this, then definitely you cannot convey your message to others. And the most important factor that affect communication, that is only the barriers. So if you identify the barriers of communication, definitely you can overcome, you can remove from your communication, and your communication skills will be improved. First one we'll discuss now: physical barriers. Physical barriers relate to disturbance in the immediate situation which can interfere in the course of an effective communication. Some of them are easy to alter, whereas some may prove to be tough obstacles in the process of effective communication, which means some barriers, some physical barriers you can remove and some you cannot. So ultimately the physical barriers plays very negative role that affect communication skills. Factors causing physical barriers. What are the cause, what are the factors that cause physical barriers that we should know? With this picture also you may getting this information. The first point we'll discuss now: defects in media, which your media you are applying to convey your message to others. That media may defects, that media may have defects. Distraction in environment, distance, ignorance of medium, physical disability. It must be thinking, if these are the barriers, then how we can overcome these barriers. So let's see. To be updated with latest technologies. Whenever you want to convey your message, your media should be updated with the latest technologies, so that your physical barriers cannot affect your communication. Choosing a suitable environment, you should choose a suitable environment. If you're not having suitable environment, you cannot communicate well, because your message will not represent properly because of the physical barriers. Removing obstacles, whatever obstacles are there in communication between two people, two persons, then it cannot be successful. So if you want to build a powerful communication, you need to remove the obstacles between two people's communication. Making signs easier to read. Example, you could supplement written signs and pictures and visual signs also. Even with the help of different images or pictures also, you can make effective communication. Self motivation is a key of any success. So if you self motivated, you can overcome such barriers. Second barrier that we are going to discuss now, that is cultural barrier. Cultures provide people ways of thinking, ways of seeing, hearing, and interpreting the world. Similar words can mean different things to people from different cultures even when they talk same language. Peoples are belong to different nation, different countries. Their cultures are even different, but with the help of communication, with the science or signal communication also, they can make effective communication. Now, what are the factors caused cultural barriers? The first one, diversified cultural background. Peoples are belong to different country, different culture, different religion, and that is the most effective problem that we can say, which diversified cultural background, language and accent. Even some people having language command which they want to convey with others, but they are having accent problem also. It has been seen in several activities because of South Indians speaking in another way the same word which we speak in a normal way. So according to them, their communication, their message conveying process is simple as we, but we don't understand because of accent also. People behavior and nature, that is also one barrier, and religion, that is also one barrier. Because of that, we cannot communicate well, we cannot convey our message to others. If I have to communicate to some of the students, those are not a native with the language, they will not understand. How to overcome cross culture environment? If you really want to overcome cultural barriers, you need to know cross culture environment, which means you know their culture and they know your culture. So what will happen? You can easily exchange your thoughts. Have a true knowledge of your counterpart's culture background. You should have a great knowledge about your counterpart's culture background. Then what will happen? You can understand how these peoples behave, how these people having a knowledge, how these people execute their process, how they live their life. If you want to know anything about them, it will be possible if you go through their culture background. Conduct effective communication workshop. You see, in the several times when we know about the film shooting, people trying to communicate well just because of they want to organize such kind of communication workshop. And mostly it happens with the North Indian and South Indian people also. Whenever they communicate, they try to organize such kind of workshop so that they can understand each and everything about the language. Work in groups and run frequent meeting. Language barriers. Inability to converse in a language that is known by both the sender and receiver is the greatest barriers of effective communication. As language plays very important role in communication, if you don't know about the particular language, that becomes a barrier to communication. When a person uses inappropriate words while conversing or writing, it could lead to misunderstanding between the sender and receiver. As I said, same language used by two people, one is using a different word that's not understood by the first person, so naturally there will be a barriers. How factors cause language barriers? Multi-language, there are several peoples having multi-language. Region wise also, we cannot we have knowledge about their languages, but not 100%. So what happens when we try to communicate a bit use of a language that we cannot communicate our message to others, so that affect us. Even the communication also affect. Inadequate vocabulary, this is happening with every language, even in English also, because we knew few language, few words only. If we really want to share each and everything about us, and we need a proper vocabulary. If we don't have inadequate vocabulary, if we don't have adequate vocabulary, then it will affect. That is one cause. Because of inadequate vocabulary, we cannot communicate well with the other person. Interpreting differences. When we interpret about something, that time we don't get proper point, proper word, proper vocab, just because of inadequate vocabulary. So that is also a cause for the barriers. How we can overcome? When we want to overcome such kind of barriers, we need to keep certain points, and I'm very much confident about it because of my students. There are several other students, even though they are having a very good knowledge about the language, sometimes they did a silly mistakes which is not accepted. If you improve above points, definitely your communication skills, especially in English language, it will be developed. And communication skills doesn't mean you are having a great command over English language. Communication skills means you are having presentation skill, you are having great skills about any language. You can be a good communicator in Hindi language also. So you cannot say कि just because of I'm having a greater knowledge of English, I will be a great communicator. You can be a good communicator in Hindi, Marathi, or any other language also. But there are certain points you please store in your mind, that really needs you, that needs everyone. The first one, speak slowly and clearly. Whenever we speak, we try to speak fast, and mostly people have that tendency or that misconception, if I speak fast, that means I'm speaking fluent English or fluent language. No, it is not like that. Speak slowly and clearly, which means if you go word to word, just I'm using just now to make you understand, then it will be easy for others to understand your words, your vocab, your message easily. Ask for clarification. Sometimes what happens when two people having communication, suppose on certain task, certain point, one has not understand particular thing, then you should ask for clarification. You should not say yes, you should say I don't know about it, I want to clear it. I just want to know the word which you used just now, so that what will happen, you will get 100% clarification about the words used by other person. Frequently check for understanding. You should check, frequently you should check about the things. Suppose we don't know each and everything about the language, so frequently we should check about the particular concept that you don't get. Be specific. See, if you're using lots of words that you know but others don't know, so what will happen if you use a particular word that is not understand by others, what will happen, it will be difficult for making effective communication. So use words that is understand by everyone. Choose your medium of communication effectively and be patient. Choose your medium of communication effectively, so that what will happen, it will be easy for others to understand. And you should be patient while having communication. You should be a good listener first, then only you will be a good communicator. Emotional barriers. The emotional state may influence your capacity to make yourself understood and hamper your understanding of others. Many times, emotional barriers on your part or the part of the person you are speaking, which may inhibit your ability to communicate on effective level. In emotional barrier, I would like to add one more thing which is not included in this slide. That is, anger is the worst emotion. Which one? Anger. If you are angry and if I'm trying to give you some knowledge about particular subject, your mind will not ready to accept the things which I'm going to convey to you. So what will happen, the message which I want to tell you, which I want to convey you, you will not ready to accept, and the barriers will create. Why? Because anger barrier already exists, and just because of your mind is not ready to accept my concept. So emotional barrier also having one major role in all barriers, and anger is the worst barrier in all kind of emotional barriers. What are the causes? That also we would like to see in this particular slide. Factors causing emotional barriers. First one is fear or insecurity. If you're having fear, if you feel insecurity, then communication will not occur. Mistrust, if you don't have trust, and stress that I told you just because. Stress also having a major role for not having effective communication, or it is not allowed even for making a effective communication. So emotional barriers also having such problems. Then we need to know how to overcome such kind of emotional barriers. First one, motivation and commitment to change. Peer or mentor support. Practice expressing recognition. If you think about these 3 points, you would understand you need to know somebody who can help you to come out from these emotional barriers. Peer or mentor support is also required. Sometimes our friends suggest us about this problem, then we can discuss with them. Even we are having chance to discuss such emotional barriers with your professors, with mentor, with guardian, or anyone who understood you. Even if you want to improve this kind of barriers, you want to overcome such kind of barriers, then sometimes you need to practice properly. So what will happen, the problem which is exist already in your emotion, that can be rectified, and with the help of mentor, peer group, friends, teachers, you can overcome. The next barriers that we are going to discuss, that is gender barriers. In this category we will learn relationships, respect, workplace authority, and education are common ways men and women are pitted against each other. Overcoming barriers in gender communication is not simple but can be made clear with a little patience and understanding. This barrier arises because man and women have different ways of thinking and communication. This happens everywhere in every workplace. We are also having such kind of uh, gender barriers because of the way of women, the way of men communicate, that having a different ways of thinking, and that is why their communication may be, I'm telling you or I'm giving you with the most advanced thing, that is might be differ because their communication cannot match easily. Sometimes it hampers because of not knowing the proper word also. So if you really want to know more about the barriers, this is also one barrier that we have to keep in mind. But the percentage of this kind of barrier is very less. Factor causing gender barriers. What are the factors that that cause gender barriers? The first point is fear and shy. See, you might have seen there are several male friends, female friends you're having. Some of them are fear, having fear, or some are shy. They are not in, they are not extrovert. They are introvert. They don't want to speak up easily with everyone, and that is also become barriers of communication. That is called a gender barrier. Some girls are very extrovert, some boys are very extrovert, some girls are very introvert, even some boys are even introverts. So what happens when we communicate when we try to communicate with these people, we cannot because of their such kind of behavior. Environment, sometime environment also plays a major role for causing gender barrier, with misunderstanding also. Sometimes people don't understand each other, and when we try to keep our point, this kind of barriers create and communication doesn't happen. How we can overcome, how to overcome this one, that we should know. The process of bridging the gap in gender communication requires the great deal of patience and understanding that only time and attention will teach. Organizational barriers. Organizational structure greatly affects the capability of the employees as far as the communication is concerned. All the internal factors which stymie or block the process of communication are known as organizational barriers. Some such factors have already been discussed, like restrictive environments, deceptive tactics, communication network. What are the factors causing organizational barriers? When we work in institute, when we go for school and colleges, there are kind of barriers also arises that we should know. Status relationships, one-way flow, organization structure, rules and regulations, too many levels in organization structures. So what happened when we try to communicate from one level to another level? That time, some way, some on some level, we are satisfied with the communication. But if we go on the up level, that less kind of communication it occurs. Why? Just because of the people who are working on the different level, they're having different level of communication also. Some are easy to understand, some are difficult to understand, and that is why communication barriers occurs. How can we overcome? The first one, poor structure to the communication, a weak delivery, the use of wrong medium to deliver the communication, a mixed message, the message is delivered to the wrong audience, or a distancing environment. Perceptual barriers. The most common problem is that the people have different opinion. Perception. You know that perception, what does it mean? Perception karna means without getting proper information, you are having perception about the particular person. The varied perception of every individual give rise to need for effective communication. We all have our own preferences, values, attitudes, origins, and life experiences that act as filters on our experiences of people, events, and information. What are the factors causing perceptual barriers? Difference in understanding, this is the major cause. Difference in perception of reality, difference on values, attitudes, and opinions. In a general discussion we have seen with different peoples are giving different opinion, but it is not like that that may be wrong or that may be right. It is up to the people's attitude how they accept it, whether they check the fact, whether they check the reality, whether they understand the problem, or without knowing anything they are giving their remark. Just because of that, that becomes a great barriers to communication. And how can we overcome? Start by listening to others. See, this is the major problem that happens everywhere. That happens with the senior people also. That happens with the youngsters also, and that happens with even kids also. You should start by listening to others. If, as I said in a previous slide, if you are a good listener, then you can be a good communicator. If you are not a good listener, you cannot be a good communicator. Try to listen others. Don't just force, just don't just compile others for listening to you. No, my dear, you will have to understand other people's having also opinion. You need to accept theirs. You cannot compel anyone like that. Getting me? So start by listening to others. First you listen others, then people will listen to you. Clarify if there is confusion. See, without knowing proper content of the particular discussion, we reach to conclusion. That is the biggest mistake we all do. So you need to clarify about the confusion, for what cause, for what reason there is a confusion arises or created. You should clarify that. Then The obstacles will remove and your communication will be effective. Stay calm and be positive. For every situation, I would suggest to every my students, please stay calm and be positive. Even you are, even you want to be a good communicator, you please try to be calm and be positive. Try to understand, try to listen others. Then only you can convey your message. If you give time to listen others, and people will give time to you to listen to you properly. Thank you so much. This is about barriers to communication and how can we overcome this kind of particular barriers which occurred in between communication. So this will really help you. Try to develop this kind of thing. You are now in for third year. You are having a particular one more year. You need to improve. If you follow this, definitely you can overcome your communication. Try to spare, as I suggest in the first semester also. Now also I would like to give you the same kind of suggestion that you have to follow. That is, please spare at least 1 hour, at least 30 minutes, half an hour, for developing your communication skills. If you develop your communication skills, definitely you will have a bright career. With the technical knowledge, as you are belong to engineering field, you should have a knowledge about it, that only technical knowledge cannot take you to the success, but at the same time you require good soft skills also, great communication skills also. If you follow above rules, if you go through this barriers, if you're having such kind of barriers, then you need to know how to overcome this kind of barriers also. Then only your communication skills will develop. You will have a lot of chance to understand others, and you can convey your message also effectively to others. In today's lecture, that this is very important for all of you to understand and learn more on communication skill, because our subject is communicative English. So we are going to discuss more on that also. In this Saturday, I'm going to take your live class. Live class means with Google Meet. I want to track with you directly, because I'm not having any information. Only 3 4 students have shown me their site visit report. So most of not, even the numbers are intake capacity of your class is more than 70, but still only uh, 5 to 6 students have shown me. So I want to meet everyone, because I just want to know what are their doubts about a site visit report, how to write site visit report. Then only it will be successful. So coming Saturday on Google Meet, we will meet and we will interact with each and every student, try to know more on your problems, and we will try definitely to solve this problem. So thank you so much. Subscribe this channel for new notification, hit the bell icon, and press the like button also. Thank you so much.